is going to lead the way.
One of you guys chose Right Said Fred for the intro music.
That was me. I was actually looking for a song titled I'm Too Sexy for My Tech.
Okay.
But couldn't find that one.
So, you know, we talk a lot about challenges with the challenge board. You know, within your own organizations, when it comes to technology, what is the sort of Uber challenge? Chris?
I think the biggest challenge for us is making a decision of where to put resources. There are so many different things we can do, and we're entering this great age of kind of media and advertising hacking that we can automate so much. Making the right decisions to put resources where is probably our biggest challenge right now.
Scarce resources, figuring out where to put them.
Absolutely.
Brian, what's a different one? Because you can't say I agree. Cut you off on that one.
Sure.
What is a different? What's a different big challenge that sort of you face internally?
It's pure number of options. I mean, there are just too many options out there, and you know, quite frankly, you don't know whether one is right over the other, and it's just kind of predicting what should be the right one to invest in or build, you know, for your clients and your group. So that's probably the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm. So, with that plethora of options, how do you end up separating, you know, myth from reality out there? I mean, because there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of people making claims, and not all of them necessarily are completely accurate.
You're saying that some people may exaggerate the truth? Is that what you're saying?
Use your words.
I think for us, it's really focusing on objectives. And I think we lose sight of that too much in our industry, of what are we actually trying to accomplish, and then are we doing it in a logical and actually attributable way. I think attribution is probably the biggest challenge we have across the board, because we have a lot of things to look at, but not a lot of things that mean a lot. Like if you're looking at retail attribution, it's hard sometimes to get decent attribution to any kind of specificity for foot traffic, and that's 99% of your volume. And so when you think about, you know, business goals for clients or even agency goals, it's all about what are we trying to get to and where. And if you keep focusing on that, then you can it kind of writes all the RFPs and makes all the decisions for you.
So is attribution sort of the one big tech area that you're focused on this year?
Well, I mean, I think so. Well, I mean, attribution has been what we've been focused on since the beginning of digital. It was, boy, you can measure clicks, you know, and we were so excited. And then, oh, well, that's so old school. And I think as you look, the further down you go, I have on my desk literally a phrenology skull. Are you guys familiar with phrenology skulls? It's like this racist science from like 100 years ago, where they measured the bumps on people's heads and said, oh, this bump is solemnity and this one's intelligence. It was institutionalized racism. That's beside the point. The whole point is, the reason I have it is because just because you can measure it doesn't mean you should. And I think most of the data we're getting in and most of the is chaff. It's just, it doesn't matter. And so trying to figure out what is closest to the business goals for either the agency or our clients, I think, is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a data analysis paralysis. I mean, there's so much we're trying to gather, yet we don't know what the relevant point is. So I think I absolutely agree with Chris. It's about relevant technology, relevant attribution. I think it's at the end of the day, what are we trying to reach with our data, with our technology? I mean, that's where you should start.
Okay, so attribution is one. What's another one, Brian? What's another big area that that you guys have to crack?
So I was going to say data, which is sort of related to attribution. I mean, everyone is talking about data, but I mean, that's sort of, I kind of alluded to analysis paralysis. We're gathering data for the sake of gathering. A lot of times we don't know what to do with them. What does it mean ultimately? And also, you know, we test to test, but we really don't know what that is, you know, the purpose it serves. So there's a challenge, that in itself is a challenge, sort of reeling the clients in the right direction. One of the challenges I wrote there is sort of steering the ADD clients in the right way. Clients just want to sort of dabble into every single thing out there. Whenever they meet with publisher partners or tech partner, they want to test. So again, what is this for? What are we driving at? Goals? What does that lead to? That's a big, so, again, data, how do we use that in the right way?
Mm-hmm. Have you sort of sorted out what the client's role is in this? I mean, in deciding which technologies to use and which not to use?
Ultimately, there's a thing called investment and dollars. So I think from that perspective, I mean, the reality is yes. And also, depending on the category vertical a client is in, they may not value one technology over another. So I think, yeah, absolutely from that perspective, it matters. I think it's a partnership. So I think what we explore.
How could it be otherwise?
Yeah, exactly. What we explore, what we do, I think is absolutely critical.
You said it's a battle.
It's a battle.
Sort of
No.
sotto voce.
No, I just to kind of build on what Brian was saying, I think when we look at tech, it's what goes into overhead, what can we sell, and do we have a sales culture on the agencies? Agencies are terrible at marketing themselves and selling their services. I mean, we love doing ads, we love doing things we know how to do, but when it's innovation, we have, kind of across the board, have a hard time selling that most of the time. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's interesting that the longer I've been doing kind of tech integration, it's what solves the client's need, and are we going to have to pay for it, or can we monetize it with our clients? And it's that delicate balance of bloating overhead or nickel and diming our clients, because there's more data, more tech that is helpful and will drive business forward, but finding that balance is, I think, the key.
So give me an example of a successful tech integration.
Do you want to start?
Sure, I can.
I like how you totally just pushed it off on me.
Sure.
I'm being gentlemanly.
I think that the great tech integration is, again, I think finding a relevant technology for our clients. So, one of our key clients is in the healthcare category, and they collect a lot of data, as I mentioned. And as you can imagine, there are hundreds of literally partners that we can work with. But it's about choosing the right partners and gathering or predicting the results that you think we'll get with this vendor or partner, and tweaking along the way to set and realistically meet their goals. And I'm being very vague on purpose because it's sort of in beta, but I think it's sort of defining and being flexible along the way. It's not just about the initial plan. This is how and what we're going to build, but it's about along the way, what is the perhaps different paths we need to go, what are the different sort of data points we need to consider, and it's that being flexible along the way, both from a technology sort of vendors, clients, and agencies. I think that makes integration possible and best.
Okay, so Chris, on the flip side, give me an instance where it completely failed.
Too many times to count. I think
There's
it's
one that stands out that
well,
failed, and why?
one that stands out. We were building essentially a social media decisioning tool for merging paid and earned kind of elements. So, Facebook was starting to turn the screws to us and make us pay for reach. And so we're trying to identify what should we promote, what shouldn't we, and we had a working prototype of it, and we went, oh, but the heart of it it'd be great to take an off-the-shelf thing and kind of buckle it into our overall system. Well, that integration took 10 times longer than it needed to, and by the time we got there, kind of that wave had passed. And so I think speed, we missed the speed of integrating outside versus building internally got in the way of it for us. And so I think that's a key element, is not only understanding can it be done, but can it be done quickly enough to capitalize on either the trend or the market condition. And by the time we got there, it just wasn't as appealing to us.
So give me one of each. Give me a technology area you're very excited about, and one that you think is completely overheated and overblown.
I'm a geek this way. I'm so excited about automating internal agency systems. There are so many things we have people doing that machines should be doing. Whether it's looking at how we handle invoices or how we look at social media or how we look at, there's so many things that we have
Have
people.
you told these people that do that at your agency your excitement?
Well, the nice thing is that they hate doing it too.
Okay.
Anything that a computer can do that humans can do better than
But
humans,
what's
they're miserable, so we
specific,
get them to do other
what?
things.
Are you talking about the programmatic technologies that theoretically free up?
Well, yeah. Well, like for example, we're doing some social media analysis right now, and SEM. We're looking for like higher order trends within social and search data, and before we automated it, somebody literally had to go through and hand code all this data and go, okay, here are the trends, and you kind of look at it, and it would take 3 or 4 days of somebody who's really skilled at it to figure out where the areas were. Now we have an algorithm, we dump it into a database, we sample it, we look at it, and it identifies here are the 6 clusters, and you spend the time looking at the clusters and what do they mean for the client and what can you do with it. And that's something where nobody loved going through it for 4 days, but now we're getting ideas coming out of it. And I think in the end, it's ideas and activations and behavior changes we want, not processes. And so that's, and when we're able to focus people on doing that, the whole talent retention issue gets better because they're doing things they actually like to do.
Okay, so that's an exciting area. How about a sort of area that makes you roll your eyes?
I came up in the age with CPG, and so anything without scale, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. But I think the biggest right now is wearables. I wonder, it's a lot of interesting data. I think we can do a lot of things, but if we thought getting on people's phones was personal, I can't even imagine as a marketer using wearable and wearable tech. Unless you own it, and that's where I'm jealous of Nike. They probably have great data and they understand things that we don't know. But I think wearables is one that we're going to take a wait and see and figure it out.
Okay, Brian, same for you. What's an exciting one and a roll your eyes one?
Yeah, I'll start with one I'm not excited about. I'm actually, it's wearable tech. So I think 6 months ago when we're at the Austin Digiday Summit, I was wearing the wristband to track of everything. I was really stoked about the whole thing. Now I don't want anything to do with it. I mean, CES is all about that and obviously among other things, but I think it's sort of that initial excitement wears off. I think the novelty wears off. So it'd be interesting to see, taking that technology into more practical manner. I.e., I think a lot of healthcare companies and they're sort of using that to make it a functional thing rather than sort of a, more as sort of the excitement wears off. So I'm less excited about that initial sort of, novelty factor, but excited about where that's going to go. That being said, I think the thing sort of that gets me excited is not, cutting edge technology, but more than sort of re-enhancing the wheel. So social media, obviously nothing new, but Facebook has announced Facebook for Work. They're beta testing against some of the companies, organizations, and I think that I'm sort of looking forward to see how that's going to either change how sort of people interact in a professional environment, or if it's completely going to tank. So I'm excited about how that's going to turn out. We're sort of working with them on a couple of those things. So whether how they use Facebook on a personal level translates that to work environment, better, worse, we don't know, but I think it's exciting. We'll see.
What's the equivalent of the cute cat video at work Facebook? That's what I want.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. So, on that challenge word from the technology companies, there's a lot of frustrations about agencies not knowing how to figure out, poor agencies ignoring them, getting agencies to invest in innovation and whatnot. I don't know, you must have a lot of vendors that come in and talk to you about their solutions and products and whatnot. What would be your one piece of advice, other than bring it back to real problems?
Do your homework.
Okay.
Don't come in with a deck that you've given 100 times. Know who my clients are.
You mean swap out the logo?
Swap out the logo at least once. But know who my clients are and what they do. I mean, I don't know how many times I've sat and they go, well, You tell me about your, I don't want to educate you in this meeting. I'm here to learn about,
Has
you know your
someone not
platform.
swapped out the logo? Can you remember?
Oh,
that?
absolutely,
That's funny.
multiple times. But just do your homework, because there's usually something that's pretty cool about your tech that applies to one or two of my clients that could be really fun. But if I don't draw that line, you've lost it. And so don't make me draw that line. Draw that line for me.
I was going to say lunch and learn. no, yeah,
All roads go back to the lunch and learn.
yeah, I think, I mean, candidly speaking, I think agency guys are, I mean, some are lazy, some are just not forward thinking, some just don't have time for it. They're just bombarded with, too many things. That being said, I think, to Chris's point, if they see a relevant and if they see this positively turning, for their accounts, for their clients, no one will turn that down. So I think it's about finding that, again, relevant point, how it's going to benefit, and why is this, this technology or solution is a game changer. Then I think there's no reason for that to be challenging. So I think equally on the agency side, we have to obviously, be proactive about that. But again, I think if it's technology, that's the solution for their work. They'll embrace it.
They get excited. If the pitch is right and it's the right tech,
yeah.
nobody runs in my office faster and more excited than if it's right.
So do buyers of your agencies use voicemail, or have they given up on it?
What's that?
Literally at my last gig, we went through 3 name changes and my voicemail never changed.
You just gave up on it. I want to open it up for questions. We have a couple microphones. There's one in the front.
Hi, so I had a question. Obviously, you guys are very focused on media. The question I have is, seeing this trend, are we heading to a non-media world? So, as an example, Netflix has over 40 million US subscribers. It has no advertising in it. All cable subscribers are now less than 40 million and declining. Netflix is obviously growing rapidly. So, what do you think the challenge is for media? As more and more of the places where consumers are spending their time, there is no media even available in a traditional sense.
I think there's a couple things that to come to mind when you say that. One is there are actually more media spaces now than ever before, and if somebody's choosing to pay for Netflix or HBO to not consume, thank God. They want to be away from us, and we need to honor that. So there are plenty of ways for us to interject right now. That said, for us to get into those kind of hyper avoidance individuals, and frankly, there are more of those people in this room than probably any other subset of culture. Like, we hate advertisers hate advertising more than anybody. But it's about making compelling content and stories in consumable chunks. I did some work over the last 6 years with Chipotle, where we consciously made a decision to make part of their marketing budget, turn them into a content brand. It works with some clients. It's much harder to do on, say, water softener salt. And so for certain clients you can do that, others you can't. When you can, it's magic, but it's hard, and you have to accept that you're going to waste a lot of money and not know if it works. And if you have the guts to do that, go for it, because it works. We just may not be able to go, that 2-minute video or that minute or that little piece of content did this. We can't draw the lines like we can in mass media because the attribution tools aren't there right now. But they do work, and getting to a client on an emotional, or a consumer on an emotional basis works. It's just measured on we haven't figured out the measurement yet. And so if you're brave, go for it.
I mean, I think in some ways, it's less media, but in some ways it's more media. I think to Chris's point, it's about content. It's integrating into what you're, what you're consuming. I turn to my 7-year-old for tech inspiration, and for him, it's all about games. And as he's playing his Skylander or whatever, I mean, you can bet there are content that is from people like us. So. I mean, that's media consumption to me. So I think it's about sort of relevant media in the relevant sort of platform, and based on who is consuming that.
I think we have one more.
So I used to be in the agency world. Now I'm on the tech side of things. And in my experience, agencies want lots of stuff, and they buy almost nothing. So other than a client pitching a fit and saying, like, get me a data dashboard by Monday, or like make sure our mobile app has an analytic solution by Wednesday, what are the top things for you guys as top players at an agency that take a technical innovation from a want to a need?
The number one thing, you have to be in the right organization, because particularly the holding companies, they sometimes silo that, and the agency you're talking to doesn't even have control over that. But I think we've run into an era where digital people are getting into leadership in agencies. That wasn't the case 10 years ago. And so digital natives are getting into senior levels of agencies. But the ones that work are the ones that put a business model for the agency in with the tech, not just, ooh, it's cool tech. We should buy iPads for everybody in the agency. That's not a plan. That's as my grandmother used to say, hope is not a strategy. But if you build a plan and have a business model behind it, guess what? It's easy to sell tech to agencies internally if you actually have a business plan with it. The challenge is not many people in tech do it, because we get excited about what it is instead of how it's used by our clients and by our agency. If you can go, hey, this is going to cut 1,000 hours of billable time, and you're going to pay us X amount to make up for that, guess what? Clients do it every day. They'll hit that button until the paper runs out if you sell it right. And we just haven't figured out how to sell tech all that well.
Ditto. We're out of time, I think.
Ditto. We are out of time. Thank you, Chris and Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go this way.